Hello fellow Star Wars fans, my name is Starrapter and welcome back to the channel. This is my spoiler-free review for Star Wars Thrawn Ascendency Greater Good. This is part 2 of the Ascendency trilogy, of course written by Timothy Zahn. It just happens to be the 30th year anniversary for none other than Heir of the Empire. So quite fitting that we're getting a new Thrawn book during that celebration. Also worth mentioning, I did pick up this at Barnes & Noble for the exclusive edition of a cool double-sided poster, so there you go. So we pick up right after the events of Chaos Rising, book 1 of the Ascendancy trilogy, and we have Thrawn in the Ascendancy. Thrawn has pulled off this brilliant plan where he is able to take down the Nikardun Dynasty. Remember, the Chiss Ascendency of space in the unknown regions, the chaos as they like to call it, has been in a peaceful time for thousands of years, and now all of a sudden in the previous book there is this faction that's trying to gain a little bit of control. Thrawn defeats them. They pick it up in this book where Thrawn, Arlani, and a new character named Lakinda are part of a task force that are going around the unknown regions and cleaning up the Nikardun Dynasty since they've captured. You have the Benevolent. There's still a few holdouts out there, of course, trying to pull together. And of course, Thrawn is not allowing that to happen. But we also have a brand new threat, a brand new character that is, we get the perspective of this character, or POV chapters of this specific character named Haplif. And this character is able to really get under the skin of the Chiss Ascendency as a whole. Remember, the Chiss Ascendency works very differently than any other kind of faction in Star Wars. They have multiple houses, the 9 ruling families, and they have the 40 great houses underneath of that. So there's a lot going on. They have different alliances with each of these houses, and there's some kind of antagonist along the way. So what is happening is the Ascendancy is starting to break apart, and it's because of this character Haplif. So rather than seeing a faction in Star Wars where it's like another extension of the Empire, another extension of the First Order, I like this faction. What Zahn is doing with this new enemy faction is writing them in a way where when you get to these memories chapters and these chapters of this character Haplif, you're going to really start to feel the uneasiness of reading a slow decline of a civilization because of just a few choice words, a few very intelligent actions that this character does to kind of start to topple the Ascendancy from the inside out. They're not trying to go to war. They don't have the manpower. These people that are working for Haplif and this other individual, they don't have the manpower to do that, but they're able to just infiltrate and learn a lot about the Chiss Ascendency, learn its quirks, learn what works, learn what doesn't work, learn the weaknesses, the strengths, and from that perspective, it really fits very well into a story that includes Thrawn, which, as we know, is very much like the Sherlock Holmes of the Star Wars galaxy. So we're getting the antagonists who are so far looking like they're competing directly with Thrawn from that perspective. So it makes sense from just a plot point of view to have an enemy that good. I haven't seen an enemy faction in Star Wars really become this kind of force to be reckoned with, and I left my jaw wide open at certain points when certain things come into play. We got the houses. The world building in this book is incredible. The world building was already great in Chaos Rising, but we're bringing it one step further because now we're getting to see some of the citizens of the Ascendancy, like Lockfro, who is a farmer. You get to see all the different levels of not humanity, but the people of the Chiss Ascendancy, from the counselors on planets to the people that are in charge of the entire government, to the people in charge of the military, to even the Skywalkers that are the girls that are in charge of the force sensitiveness of themselves to be able to travel through hyperspace through the chaos. So you're really getting that slice of all the type of life within the Chiss Ascendancy, which I think is one step further than what we got in Chaos Rising. So I have to give it to them. And of course, naval battles. We get to see, of course, more naval battles with a Thrawn book. Always can expect some crazy moments that just I didn't see coming. So as long as we get those naval battles, this is part of the reason why I love reading these Thrawn books. I will say this book does not come without some negatives. So I think the resolution just was way too quick at the end of this specific book here. It was like racing for the last five pages. I think it could have been slowed down a little bit because it just went too quickly for me. I think at a glance, this book, and this might be a negative for a lot of people, sort of a negative for me, is it seems like it's a setup book, right? This is in between the beginning and the ending of this trilogy. So we have so much setup, and there's not a whole lot of payoff for me. There's not a whole lot of satisfaction. Now, keep in mind, the next book is coming out in like 6 months, so good thing for that because you don't have to wait very long. But still, I would have liked to see this book kind of stand more on its own, if you know what I mean, than just be like a bridge between two other stories. And I just don't think that some of these storylines had enough going for them in general. We have a lot of POV characters from, Samarco, which is the first officer aboard Thrawn's ship. We also have Thalius, which is a caregiver of the Skywalker on Thrawn's ship. I don't think those storylines had enough going for them. There's a really cool kind of nuance to that storyline in the beginning of the book and a nice setup for the beginning of the book. And then we get to the end of that specific storyline. It was just like, oh, that never happened, did it? So there was a lot of, not a lot of things, but some things that just didn't really come to fruition for me. But with that being said, I'm going to give Thrawn Ascendency Greater Good a score of an 8.5 out of 10, and that would mark this just slightly higher than Chaos Rising. So if you obviously enjoyed Chaos Rising, you're probably not going to need me to recommend this book to you. But what I will say is, yes, you got to take this with a little bit of forethought. If you didn't like the Thrawn in the Rebels era and stuff like that, those books, you're probably not going to like this one. I would like to give it a try, because I think this is the freshest, next to the High Republic, this is the freshest kind of Star Wars storytelling going on right now from the perspective of, oh, we are in a completely different part of the galaxy that we've been hearing about for years that we've never actually traveled, at least in canon, to. So there's so much world building in here. There's so much with the nuance of the actual enemy, the enemy feeling fresh and something we've never seen in Star Wars that really gets onto your skin, and it's just very creepy with how that enemy is going to try to take over the Chiss Ascendency. So yeah, definitely go ahead and check this one out. And I thought it was pretty cool because I finished this book the day that they were celebrating the 30th anniversary of Heir of the Empire. So that was quite fitting, and I cannot wait for November for when we get Lesser Evil to finish off this Thrawn trilogy. So what did you guys think of this specific book? Let's talk about it in the comment section down below. If you're getting ready to read this book and need a little bit of a refresher on what happened in Chaos Rising, I have my recap of that book on the channel right now. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that way you never miss out on any other content, specifically the Star Wars content. That's going to do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.